Let's pivot to the Bengals game against the Baltimore Ravens, a rematch of a game earlier this year, Week 7, when Baltimore was beaten decidedly by Joe Burrow and company. That was the moment we were ready to anoint the Bengals as the kings of not just the AFC North, but potentially the AFC. They've arrived, and then they lose a couple of games in a row, and then they win a couple, and then they lose a couple. And it's been a strange roller coaster for Cincinnati this year. Well, yesterday, and look, no one's going to make any apologies to anyone who doesn't have their best players available. The Ravens didn't have Lamar Jackson. Then they didn't have Tyler Huntley. Their defense has been decimated by injuries. But you know what? We've seen plenty of teams step up and play well with backups or against teams who are, quote-unquote, better than they are, like the Texans yesterday against the Chargers. And early on, it looked like the Ravens were going to give them a run for their money. But my goodness, Joe Burrow, a historic day, fourth highest total in passing yardage in a single game with 525. He was 37 for 46, 525 yards, 4 touchdowns. Only Norm Van Brocklin in 1951 with 544. Warren Moon in 1990 with 527, and Matt Schaub in an overtime game in 2012 with 527 have had better passing yardage days than Joe Burrow. And it was something. It was something to behold. I asked Burrow if it was on his bucket list to throw a 500-yard day, and he said never really thought about it. Just kind of went out and happened. And at some point in the fourth quarter, they realized they had a chance to do it, and they decided, as we saw late in the game, that they were going to go out and do it. And they did it to the apparent chagrin of Ravens coach John Harbaugh.
Well, and hey, listen, that's I've always said, you know, when people complain about in the pro sports, if they run up a score, if they keep throwing it, tough, man. You don't want them to do it, stop them. Don't stare across the sideline and wonder why they're doing it, why they're still throwing. Stop them. So, you know, I don't think anything of that. You can go ahead and be as mad as you want. You're a professional coach, you're a professional athlete. Stop the other team from dismantling you, which is something Baltimore couldn't do. And to start off what you said, you're right. It doesn't matter. No one's feeling sorry for anybody in this situation, whether it's injury or in this case, a lot of it is COVID, is you feel the team, you play with that team, and you let the chips fall where they may. And in this one, it happens to everybody. And there was a couple of games this weekend where it happens. You play long enough. I've been on both sides of it. On the positive side of getting a big win and on the negative side of getting my butt kicked and having to sit there the whole game like Washington did, you know, last night, getting drilled by Dallas when they could have ended that game at halftime and probably would have loved to end the game at halftime. But what Cincinnati is doing, not only this year, Mike, but what they're building with the youth they have, what they have with Burrow and with Mixon and with Chase and with T. Higgins. T. Higgins, for you young kids out there, you want to see how to catch a ball with your hands. That man is incredible with how he uses his hands, not his body to catch a ball, but snags it with his hands to make a catch. It was an impressive performance offensively, especially offensively from them. And again, not just for this year. We'll see how far they can go. They're obviously playing for this year. But Cincinnati Bengal fans, I know, can be kind of cautiously optimistic, like, wow, we may really have a good team. And not only a good team, we may have a good team for a number of years because youth is on our side here. So they may be starting to deliver that message a little bit this year, like, hey, you know, we're not the Bengals of old. We know the history, but we don't care about that history because we all basically, you know, weren't around then. We were kids. So now we're here, we're the Bengals, and we plan on being good for a long while.
That's the Joe Burrow attitude, and he communicates it. I think Peter King has described him before as a baby-faced killer, where he does, and we talked about this a week or so ago on PFTPM, and I made the observation on Twitter, and apparently there's an entire club of people out there who get very indignant if you mention that Joe Burrow looks like Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone grown up, more than Macaulay Culkin actually looks like Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone grown up. They're like, I said that 2 years ago. Well, gee, congratulations. I didn't steal your bit. It must be obvious because a lot of people think that, and there he is. Not just with the grown-up Macaulay Culkin face, the Santa hat, and the Krusty Krab T-shirt. an awesome ensemble. As I said on Twitter last night, I need someone to make this into a poster. It is just fabulous. But he's got the attitude, Mike, where the past doesn't matter. We're setting a new standard. When they swept the Steelers, we're not surprised by that. That's what we expect to do. Now they swept the Ravens. We're not surprised by that. That's what we're supposed to do. And they still have a game looming Week 17, Week 18. What used to be Week 17 is now Week 18 against the Browns. They get a chance at redemption because one of the eggs they laid this year was against Cleveland. And that's what's so confounding about these Bengals. They are capable of getting their asses kicked just as frequently as they are capable of going out and doing that to someone else. And you don't know what you're going to get until you go out and play the game.
See, that's the next step with them, because I called their Thursday night game, earlier in the season against Jacksonville, and Jacksonville had a 14-0 lead. Cincinnati was shut out in the first half, 14-0 at home at halftime, and got booed off the field. So it was like, okay, I'm sure the fans were like, here we go again. We get teased like we have a good team, and then we do this to basically a team at that point in Jacksonville who had no wins. We suck again. I mean, it's not going to change. We're in the same wheel. We're basically Burrow is saying, no. That's not it, and that's going to be the difference for the Cincinnati team is they can win. But now they have to do it consistently. If they want to be up with the big boys in the NFL, in the upper echelon of the NFL, a place they haven't been, they need to win consistently. So that's the next thing. And, when you sweep a couple of your division foes, that's starting to show some of the consistency. So they're on their way. They truly are. I don't know if the Cincinnati Bengal fans can allow themselves to believe that yet, but those players on the team believe that, and that's the most important thing.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.